Looking to get real estate market data at your fingertips so that you can analyze your specific market and understand, is a crash coming? Is it becoming a seller's or a buyer's market? These are all questions we can answer with Redfin's free data source, and I'm going to show you how to extract that data and filter down to your specific city using Python. My name is Ariel Herrera with the AnalyticsAriel channel, where we bridge the gap between real estate and technology. If you enjoy data-driven solutions, then please subscribe to this channel as well. Stay tuned, because in the third video, I'll be showing you how to create the same exact visualization so that you can be ahead of your competition and understand how to analyze your market. All right, let's get started. Right now, I'm on Redfin's data center page, and Redfin has information about housing market data they make available publicly. So this data, they have some Tableau dashboards already where you can filter on different areas and look to see how new listing, pending sales, homes sold, and more have changed over time. This is useful information to see the status of a real estate market, if it's cooling off or if it's heating up in favor of sellers or buyers. So down below, we actually have downloadable information, and you could go from all the way from the national level down to the neighborhood level. And this is critical because real estate is hyper localized. For example, say if you are investing in the city of Miami. Well, in some pockets of Miami, it may be more affordable, there may be more population coming, or maybe there's people that are driving away. So you can't just look at the city as a whole, but you need to really focus on zip code as well. And this data not only helps us to see how our market is currently performing, but it helps us to analyze what next markets may be emerging and we want to invest in. So I'm going to be opening right now a Google Colab notebook. And this allows us to basically program in Python on the cloud using Google services without having to have Python installed on our actual machines. And we'll be able to run these cells. In order to start, you're going to go to the left-hand corner, File, and save a copy to your own drive. This is free. You just need your own Google account. Now for the first step, we're going to be using some libraries in order to download our data, as well as extract our data and see how long it takes to run. So here you can either press play or hit Shift Enter in order to run this cell. Now for the next cell, if we go over to Redfin's data source and we go to zip code, we can copy the link address, and this is going to allow us to read the data. And if we look at the link address, it's going to match the same one that I already have within the URL. And you might be thinking, why don't we just download the file and then read it in Excel or some other application? Well, the reason is because this file is massive. We have data for over 2 years across pending home sales, listings, month-over-month changes, and it's all zip codes throughout the United States. So let's run this cell here so that we can actually read in the data from the URL. We're specifying with this pandas function that it's gzip compression, and it's separated by a tab. What we're going to be doing next is understand how long this takes to run, and then show us the first 5 rows within our data set. So let's click Run here. Here we could see that it took 2.29 minutes in order to actually read in this data set, and that's because there's over 5 million rows, almost 6 million, with 58 columns. So it's a pretty wide and lengthy data set. If we look at our first 5 rows, we could see we have information on period begin, so our data should go back to at least 2013. As well, we have information of what zip code it is, the state code, and then more information on what's going on in the market, including median sale price, median list price, as well as pending sales, homes sold, inventory, and more. So let's actually get this data down to a subset that we could actually work with. So I'm going to filter specifically on Florida, since that's the state that I'm currently in. Now my data set is down to 380,000 rows, which is doable. This is great to work with. And we could see here that the duration of the data set is 90 across. And we could look at some other mean, standard deviation, max stats by using the describe function. I'm going to skip forward to our next step where we're going to sample this even further. So our goal is to be able to visualize all of the data within a dashboard in Tableau that's free to create. I always suggest, and it's a good practice, to start with a sample set and then expand forward. So maybe start with just a city that you're local to, and then if you want to look at this data across the whole United States, go for it. Just be wary that it is going to be a lengthier data set, so it may take more time in order for the data to load in the visual tool. So next, what I'm doing is I'm going to get data for a select amount of counties. And I go to this GitHub repository that already has data for the US, each state, all counties, and all zip codes. So if we look at the first 5 rows, we could see we have Alabama, related zip codes, counties, and cities. So for my purpose, instead of looking at all of Florida, I'm going to sample this down even further. And I'm going to look at specific counties on the left-hand side of Florida, so by Tampa. Tampa is within Hillsborough County. Then you have St. Pete and Pinellas County. You have Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus up north that are still about 1 hour from the city. So these are the ones that I'm going to concentrate on in order to reduce my sample set. So on the next cell, what I'm doing is I'm filtering on Florida, and I'm filtering even further to only look at these 5 specific counties. I want to check that the zip codes are correct because I've noticed that some of the zip codes in this file, they don't actually assign to a real city. So I'm checking that all the zip codes should be fully numeric, meaning that each element within the 5 digits should be all digits. So I look here and I could see that there are a few invalid zip codes, and this is what they look like. So I'm going to be removing those from my data set in the next cell. So if I run this, we have now filtered. We're only getting valid zip codes, and we have 119 zip codes we're going to be focusing on. Now for our next spot, what we're going to do, filter so that we get region. From region, we get zip code. So if we go back to the top where we have our data set originally, we could see we have this region field, but zip code is nested inside of it. We just need to get that zip code itself so that we can choose all of our relevant zip codes. So what I'm doing over here is I'm splitting by the colon and then grabbing the first element and stripping it so that any white spaces or blank spaces beginning to end are removed. So now we have our zip code column, and I'm merging this on an inner join with our valid county zip codes so that now our data set is going to be reduced from the 300K just to those zip codes in those 5 counties. So as we run this, we should see that now we only have 56,000 rows. So we've reduced our data set. Now we want to actually export this so we can work with it in Tableau. However, as I was going through this, I noticed there were some issues with the data. So let's look at an example county and an example zip code and only single family homes. So what this is telling us is that from February of 2022 to March of 2022, median days on market went from 6 to 7 days. However, median days on market month over month, it says there was an increase. This should be 6 to 12, but it's not. So that means that this is incorrect, and we need to recalculate median days on market. Just by eyeballing a data set, I only saw this issue with this specific field, but I highly suggest if you're going to use a data set for your own city, maybe do a for loop and recalculate all month over month calculations. And the way to do that is by sorting your values by the period, so the date, from the earliest date to the latest date, being the last row. And then for median days on market, which is this column, we want to get the percentage change, which helps for us to gauge if days on market is increasing or decreasing month over month. And I ran this on this test data set, and we could see this should be the actual values that we're getting. We should have 0.166 as the median days on market month over month increase, not 1. So this is going to replace this column. So in the features part, I'm going to run this here. There's 3 different features we're creating. We're going to have a latest period column. That way we could identify right away that it's the most recent data. So in this case, if it's for May 31st of 2022, we could see all the way at the end that we have our latest period, true or false. Then we are going to be removing the Redfin city and keeping the geo city. So we have two tables that we had merged. One of the cities isn't as detailed as the other, so I'm keeping the city that came from that GitHub CSV file. And then the last step that I'm doing is removing that bad data by replacing the median days on market field with the percentage change that I'm manually calculating here. Now we have our data set, and the last step is just to export it. So here I'm getting today's current year and month, which is 2022-06, and I'm exporting this into a CSV file. Our next step here is, once we have our data set, in the next video we'll be actually creating this Tableau dashboard that you'll be able to use to analyze your own market. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Thanks.